President Xi Jinping is arguably the most powerful Chinese leader since Chairman Mao and certainly the first to foster a similar personality cult. He must have relished burnishing his image last week by riding through London with the Queen in a gleaming carriage, receiving a 103-gun salute and sitting next to the Duchess of Cambridge at a lavish banquet at Buckingham Palace. There is no comprehensive, national legislation to protect working children. This creates an environment in which foreign investment can take advantage of children. Official data on child labor is almost non-existent in Myanmar. Birth registration is low, making it difficult to know the age of many children. And there is no monitoring of child labor. No one really knows how many children are working for firms that attract foreign investment. Myanmar ranks as one of the 5 least costly countries for hiring labor. A military alliance that grew out of the Cold War might seem irrelevant a quarter of a century after the demise of the Soviet Union. But the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, has assumed an expanded remit since the end of the Cold War and now faces fresh challenges as Russia flexes its muscles in Eastern Europe and Syria. Does the world have too many people? For a long time, there were fears that the Earth's population was growing too fast and would soon outstrip resources including, crucially, food. But views have changed more recently as global food supplies have grown, trade has increased, health standards have improved, technology has advanced and economies have expanded. The Pew Research Center, a U.S. think tank, has produced a report on attitudes around the world toward climate change. It is an extraordinarily detailed compilation of data, presented in Pew style, user-friendly, and well-timed, coming just ahead of the Paris climate change meeting that starts at the end of the month. Pew rarely wastes time getting to the point, and the report's headline says, Before I started working with the Global Shea Alliance in Accra, Ghana, I was familiar with shea as a cosmetic product. So I was surprised to learn that shea, from the tree of the same name, is mostly consumed in chocolate, and in Africa's Sahel region it is used as a vegetable oil. Butter from the tree's nuts is even used as an anti-inflammatory balm and to treat dermatitis. Freedom of expression and liberty are cornerstones of French heritage. While it is important to express one's sentiments and opinions on social media, it's also imperative that people understand what it means to lose someone near and dear. We can choose either to make grand political statements and gain several likes for those oratory skills, or to internalize the emotions felt by the victims and take a more informed approach. A quick search on the web made it clear that there is no one agreed set of data, in large part because different people have different definitions of terrorism. The Global Terrorism Index, GTI, is an effort to assess global terrorism trends. The index is produced by the Sydney-based Institute for Economics and Peace in cooperation with the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, which is headquartered at the University of Maryland in the United States. Despite attacks in Paris that killed 130 people, the United Nations Climate Change Conference set to start at the end of the month will go ahead in the French capital. The government has announced that two major street demonstrations that activists had planned for before and after the conference have been banned for security reasons. But events held indoors will go ahead as planned. Drones can deliver medical supplies, rescue people, count wildlife and inspect power lines. They can also assassinate enemies. Like many fruits of technology, drones offer an ever-expanding range of uses that can revolutionize industries and benefit consumers. But their military uses raise ethical and strategic questions that nations, particularly the United States, The deadly attacks in Paris appear to have hardened opposition in East and Central Europe to a plan to relocate thousands of migrants and refugees who have flooded into the continent this year. The plan for a quota system relocating some 120,000 migrants among member states was already in trouble at a meeting of European interior ministers in September, as many European countries voted against it. Some students at Princeton University in the United States want the name of Woodrow Wilson, the 28th U.S. president who died in 1924, to be removed from the university's programs and buildings because of his racist views. The debate has reached the national media, and no less of a mainstream press organ than the New York Times has written an editorial on the issue. Women, from grandmothers to toddlers, routinely suffer violent sexual abuse at the hands of military and rebel forces. Rape has long been used as a tactic of war, with violence against women during or after armed conflicts commonly reported in war zones. During the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, between 250,000 and 500,000 women were raped. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, approximately 1,100 rapes are being reported each month. D. is a transgender caregiver who was born in Manhattan in the 1960s and has lived most of her life in the quiet, conservative New York neighborhood of Fresh Meadows, Queens. Staying close to her roots has helped her survive, she says. Like many New Yorkers, commutes to work in Manhattan, where she has spent 2 decades serving nonprofits supporting the LGBTQ community. Severe storms, extreme precipitation, melting ice caps, rising sea levels, health problems, human displacement. In 2014, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released a report with up-to-date scientific research regarding climate change. It concluded that unless more was done to control carbon emissions, the global surface temperature is likely to go up. Non-voters, those who do not participate in our elections, or who are barred from doing so, have as much of an influence on our choice of representatives and the laws they enact as voters. And in some places, it's not getting any easier to vote. In a recent 5-4 vote, the Supreme Court struck down a section of the Voting Rights Act that required jurisdictions with a history of racial discrimination to submit any changes in voting laws to the federal government for review. We make up a huge share of the world's population. Hundreds of millions of us live in war-torn countries. We are the world's next leaders. But we, the world's youth, are excluded from negotiations that decide our future, even as threats to our future mount. Last month, the United Nations agreed to do something about it. Britain has been a member of the European Union for 43 years. But the commitment of its people has never been wholehearted. In a few months' time, voters will decide whether to stay in or leave. A decision to quit the 28-member EU, Brexit, would alter the future for both the United Kingdom and Europe. The UK would be the first country to leave the EU since it was established as the European Economic Community in 1957. Have you ever made a wish on a falling star as it sparkled through the night sky? Those flashes of light are caused by space rocks, usually the size of a pebble. Known as meteors when entering Earth's atmosphere and meteorites when they land, most space material is microscopic, virtually cosmic dust. Yet every year our planet is bombarded by an estimated 40,000 tons of material originating from asteroids. Electric cars are flying off the world shelves like there is no tomorrow. Most auto manufacturers now offer at least one full battery model and a hybrid version, and some have even declared their aim of going fully electric within a decade or two. Far from suffering along with the rest of the world's economies due to COVID-19 effectively closing down normal world commerce, sales of electric vehicles, EVs, not only bucked the trend but accelerated through it. How many spacecraft heading to the same planet make a traffic jam? The 3 missions that were launched to Mars in July 2020 certainly created an interplanetary rush hour. It's only possible to launch a mission to Mars every 26 months, when the Earth and Mars are favorably aligned. Mars is a demanding destination. Of the almost 50 missions to Mars since the 1960s, more than half have failed. The unprecedented mob assault on the U.S. Capitol on January 6 represents perhaps the most stunning collision yet between the world of online disinformation and reality. The supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump who broke into Congress did so in the belief that the U.S. election was stolen from them after weeks of consuming unproven narratives about ballot dumps, manipulated voting machines, More and more U.S. teenagers are experiencing depression, and we're spending more and more time in front of computers and smartphones. But while teenagers feeling depressed might spend many hours a day consuming social media and surfing the internet, technology can bring many benefits if harnessed carefully. What could be killing millions of people a year by 2050? What could cost the global economy trillions of dollars in lost output by the middle of the century? The answer is not climate change, but germs that evolved tricks to evade the effects of drugs used to treat them. It's called antimicrobial resistance, AMR. Some of the bacteria, viruses and fungi have developed so much resistance to drugs that they are called superbugs. Google recently published community guidelines, an official policy to guide and effectively moderate the communications of its roughly 100,000 employees. Internal company policies don't usually make international headlines. But Google's did, in part because the policy signals a notable shift for a company that has historically prided itself on embracing free speech and open debates among employees. Visiting the Center for Functional Nanomaterials is quite an experience. There are many laboratories crowded with highly sophisticated instruments and scientists, physicists and molecular engineers working with huge electronic microscopes and state-of-the-art tools capable of exploring the properties of materials unimaginatively small, spanning just billionths of a meter. In much of the world, COVID-19 has disrupted young people's schooling, disturbed their psychological well-being by keeping them cooped up at home and, lately, infected them in increasing numbers. In many African countries, however, the pandemic has precipitated another worrying consequence, a rise in teenage or child pregnancies directly linked to school closings that governments have ordered to curb the spread of the virus. When natural disasters strike, they bring out the best in most people. Overcome with the good intentions to help, they give supplies that they feel are needed most. But what they don't realize is that cash is best to help the victims of an international disaster. Such was the case after the 2005 Asian tsunami. As you work your way through tax season, it might also be a good idea to reevaluate your auto insurance policy. The beginning of the year is a great time to get your financial house in order, says Wade Bontrager, Vice President of Marketing for GMEC Insurance. While you're already looking at your finances, it's easy to get out that auto insurance policy and make sure you're getting everything you can from it. The survey of 2021 U.S. adults aged 18 and over was conducted in October by Harris Interactive on behalf of the Marble Institute of America, MIA. It asked respondents which countertop they would most want in their dream kitchen. At 55%, granite countertops was the most popular choice, followed distantly by synthetic stone at 12%. Workaholism has become a social norm. Many people proudly call themselves workaholics, but true workaholism, an uncontrollable compulsion to work, can destroy personal relationships and lead to a lower quality of life. How do you know if you're a workaholic? Workaholics routinely work more than 40 hours a week and take their work to dinner, homes and bed. Men just don't get it. Men don't understand the fear many women feel as they leave the office building after work to go to their car in the dark, or when they leave a department store alone and have to walk across a vast parking lot with their arms full of packages. For millions of women, a parking lot can be a dangerous place, sometimes resulting in serious or deadly consequences. Seafood is a smart choice for moms who want their kids to have a lifetime of good health. Speaking of smart, experts agree that seafood is an important part of healthy brain development, so much, in fact, that it's often referred to as brain food. Fish are the best natural source of healthy omega-3s, fats that are absolutely essential. Stay glued to your TVs this October with Lifetime's all-new fall lineup, featuring gripping, emotional and informative new original movies featuring star-studded casts. October begins with The Good Father, the Martin McNeil story. Based on a true story, the movie centers on the life of the Utah doctor. A growing body of research shows that throughout the next decade women will control significantly more financial assets. Today, they control a third of total U.S. household financial assets, about $10 trillion, but by 2030 women are expected to control most of the $30 trillion in financial assets currently held by baby boomers. When it comes to finding a new look this spring, it's less about spending and more about closet creativity. According to fashion expert and host of TLC's What Not to Wear, Stacey London, this season, use the basic rules of fashion and fabric care to recreate spring's hottest looks. Fashion Basic 101, shop your closet first. According to a recent survey sponsored by Woolite, over $2 billion worth of clothing was ruined last year due to laundry-related mistakes. A non-harsh detergent like Woolite is the key to extending the closet life of your favorite wardrobe pieces. It's easy to breathe new life into classic wardrobe basics if they have been maintained through proper laundry care. At some point in their life, nearly everyone will take a step back to admire a newly painted or carpeted room in their home or that brand new car in their driveway. In fact, according to a recent survey, 3/4 of respondents admit that they love that new car smell, and more than 2 in 5 say they enjoy the smell of new carpeting. But as enjoyable as these smells may be, are people really aware what's under their noses? Spring doesn't just mean flowers and sunshine, it's also the perfect season for termite infestations. Warmer temperatures inspire young male and female termites to fly from their colonies in search of ideal places to build new ones. And unfortunately for many Americans, termites often start colonies in human homes. In fact, termites cause $5 billion in property damage each year. It's not surprising, then, that a new website now allows users to compare prices on prescription drugs. The website, bidrx.com, shows users what pharmacies around the United States charge for the same prescription. Patients can then use that information when choosing a local pharmacy. Even better, users can mail order prescriptions from anywhere in the United States, and BidRx notes when pharmacies offer free shipping. Faced with the need to cut costs, businesses of all sizes regularly resort to reducing headcount. But unlike their counterparts at large, publicly listed companies, owners and managers of smaller businesses have much more than today's share price to think about when they have to reduce costs. For a small business, replacing experienced, talented individuals will be both costly and necessary in the longer term. Grandmothers might say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but many American dads should be paying attention to another old saying, the one about eating an apple a day. The experts at the Weight Control Information Network, WIN, want to make sure every dad is feeling jubilant and healthy this Father's Day and for many more to follow. A global recession has a wearied public in its grips as consumers tighten their belts. Policymakers are engaging in a fierce battle for both short-term and long-term solutions while ordinary Americans go about their daily lives with hopes that the situation won't get any worse. Nearly $1 trillion has been injected into the faltering system, but immediate success has yet to materialize. With the wild volatility of most sectors on Wall Street, household goods and staples have not fallen as much as the others, reflective of the trend for consumers to take care of essentials before discretionary purchases such as electronic goods and new automobiles. As food safety has become a major concern for food company executives, with 84% in a recent survey stating that food safety is their main priority, IPURA offers investors a chance to profit in a time of uncertainty and economic downturn by meeting market demand. Nothing quite says summer like a healthy meal of fish and vegetables, and U.S. farm-raised catfish has a light, versatile flavor that lends itself to almost any dish. This recipe for poached catfish with fresh mango salsa takes advantage of the fresh herbs and tomatoes available on farm stands and in markets during the summer, then adds a tropical flair with pineapple and mango. As the real estate market has fallen, more developers have become interested in purchasing bottom-dollar homes to resell when the market recovers. In a similar vein, some businesses are now purchasing hotels. One such investment and real estate company, Mod Hospitality, has taken advantage of falling real estate values to buy high-quality hotels and restaurants in strong markets. If you love what you are doing, you are far more likely to do your job efficiently and effectively. Darren Hardy, publisher and editorial director of Success Magazine, suggests approaching time management as an investor and looking to get the best return on expended energy. Your management task, says Hardy, is to spend more time on what gives you energy and to guard against that takes energy from you. If you are a parent with teenagers, you've probably had more than one conversation with them about money, especially in today's economy. Likely, these talks have revolved around them asking for more money than you wish or can afford to give right now. Although it may seem impossible, teens can learn to manage their own money with a little discipline and guidance from mom and dad. Nothing signifies the start of grilling season like a big, juicy burger hot off the fire. America's love affair with the great taste of hamburgers has been going strong for more than 100 years. While some burger purists would argue that the only condiments a burger requires are ketchup, mustard and a few pickles, other more adventurous burger aficionados enjoy spicing things up. The pain of osteoarthritis not only affects Americans' joints, but also their wallets. 33% of American workers report that arthritis interferes with their ability to perform their job. In 2007, treating arthritis cost $128 billion, $81 billion in direct expenses, like medical costs, and another $47 billion in lost wages and other indirect costs.